Hey everybody, my name is Justin. Welcome back to my pit lane garage. Today we're going to be installing Grimspeed hood struts onto my 2017 Subaru BRZ. So these hood struts have a number of benefits. The first one being that you can get rid of the stock hood prop that holds up the hood. Now these hoods on the BRZ, FRS, and 86 are super lightweight, being made of aluminum, so they're real flimsy and real floppy when they're sitting on that stock hood prop. The Grimspeed hood struts hold the hood solidly in place. You won't have any issues with the hood being open and being blown over by wind. I almost actually had that happen to me at a big autocross race out in Lincoln earlier this year. We had the hood up after tech inspection and the wind was blowing. The hood nearly blew over and smacked my windshield. So you do not want to be in a situation like that, ruining your hood, potentially ruining your windshield and some other body damage. In addition, with the hood struts, the hood actually opens up higher, so you have more access to the engine bay, and of course you don't have that hood prop sitting in your way when you're working on the engine bay of the car. And hey, for those of you that like to do car shows and that kind of thing, this is probably the best option to have if you want to pop your hood up, show off the engine bay without having to worry about the thing blowing around. So we're going to go ahead and get started here, show you the tools that you need, what comes in this Grimspeed hood strut kit, and show you how to get it installed and what it looks like when it is done. Let's take a look at what comes in the kit. You have your hood struts, of course, the couple L brackets, the long mounting brackets, and an assortment of nuts and bolts, as well as a couple rubber grommets. You will need an assortment of hand tools, a 1/2-inch wrench, a 13mm wrench, 10, 12, and 13mm sockets, a ratchet and an extension, and I like to use some thread lock on the nuts and bolts as well. Moving into the initial assembly steps, you want to grab your main mounting bracket and one of the rubber grommets. You simply press the rubber grommet into the backside of the mounting bracket. This will act as a cushion against your hood so that the mounting bracket doesn't scrape it up. Grab your strut and take the threaded end, slide it through the hole on the top of the mounting bracket. Grab your blue thread locker, apply a little bit of thread lock to your threads, thread on your nuts, and then grab your 1/2-inch and your 13mm wrenches and secure the nut in place. Next up, we'll be attaching the little L brackets to the struts themselves. Now pay attention to your Grimspeed instructions, as these do go on a particular side. Once you have it in place, we're going to grab our thread locker again, put a little dab on the threads, grab our nuts, thread it onto the threads, and also secure that one snugly in place. And this is what your assembled strut assemblies should look like once they are put together. Now once we have our hood struts assembled, it's a good idea to grab a helper for the next steps, just so you can have someone keep the hood steady while you install the hood struts onto the hood itself. Alright everybody, so this is kind of a tight fit down here with the camera. I'm going to point out the bolts that you're going to need to remove, and then I'll narrate over the actual process itself. But there's basically 3 bolts that need to be removed and replaced in order to get this hood strut installed. The first of the 3 bolts that we're going to remove is actually straight down here in the engine bay. It's a little tiny 10mm bolt. We're going to take that one out, and that is where the base of the hood strut is going to be installed. The next bolt we'll remove is the bottom bolt on the hood mount bracket itself right here. We're actually not going to reuse any of these OEM bolts. They will be replaced by bolts that come with the Grimspeed hood strut kit. So we'll take out this 12mm bolt on the bottom, replace it with the one that comes from the kit, and you actually don't install it all the way. You leave a little bit of a gap where the bolt goes into the hood there so that the hood strut itself can slide into place. Once that bolt is in that position, you're going to get your helper to kind of help keep the hood stable. You can do it by yourself. I did the other side by myself already, but a helper would definitely be beneficial. You're going to take out the last 12mm bolt on the top, place the hood strut where it belongs, and then start putting the bolts back into place, and then you'll tie down the one here in the engine bay with the included bolt from the kit as well as the last piece to the puzzle. Start off by grabbing that 10mm sockets. We're going to loosen and remove that little bolt inside the engine bay. Go ahead and set that bolt aside as it won't be used again. Next, grab your 12mm sockets. Remove the lower bolts on the hood mounting bracket. Set that bolt aside as you won't need it anymore. Grab the provided replacement bolt from the kits. We'll put a little dab of thread locker on that one as well. Thread that one into place, and this is where we're going to want to leave a little bit of a gap, about a 1/4 inch gap of threads, so that it looks like this. Now this is where you want to grab your helper, have them keep the hood steady so that it doesn't move around too much while you remove that upper bolt. Take that bolt out and put it aside. Again, we won't use the stock bolts. Switch out your socket for the 13mm one that fits the bolts in the Grimspeed kit, and grab your assembled hood strut for that side of the car. We're going to slide the open-ended section on the bottom over that bolt that we put in earlier. Grab the bolt for the upper. We have some thread lock already on it. Thread that one into place. Go ahead and grab your wrench, and you can start securing those two bolts down to the hood mount bracket. Now we can go ahead and secure the bottom bracket into the engine bay mounting position. This will give you an idea of what it looks like before the bracket is in place. The little L on the top of the bracket fits into the hole, as you can see right there in that picture, and then the bolt just drops in on the top. We'll dab a little bit of thread lock on it, like always. And then we can grab our wrench with the 10mm socket and extension on it and secure that one into place. Alright, we have the hood struts installed on the car. Pretty simple process, just a few bolts for each side. Again, it does make things easier to have that helper just to hold up the hood when you're getting that final bolt installed. Otherwise, very simple process. So I'm going to give you a closer look at the finished product to show you how these things are installed, how they bolt up to the hood and to the car. Then we're going to test it out, bring the hood down, make sure everything lines up properly, and then see how the action is when it goes up and then comes back down to close once again. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is test out if this hood will close with the Grimspeed hood struts. I imagine everything will be fine. The instructions say that come with the hood struts that you want to close the hood just like you would as if it didn't have the hood struts installed, which means you bring the hood down to about 10 or 12 inches before closing and then just let it go. It will close on its own. So we'll start lowering the hood down. I'm kind of just making sure everything is staying solidly in place, not hitting anything as it closes, and of course it looks fine as I would expect. So we'll go ahead and leave a little bit of distance and let it drop, and naturally it closes up just fine. The next thing I'm going to do is go around the hood, check all of the seams, where the hood lines up with the fender, where it lines up with the bumper, make sure everything is still straight. This is one of the things I was kind of worried about when installing these hood struts, was would things get cockeyed or out of whack with the hood. Now actually, after going across the hood, everything is in perfect alignment, so that is definitely a bonus. You don't have to worry about keeping everything lined up when you do install these hood struts. They just work as they come out of the box. Now we'll go ahead and open the hood back up, make sure everything goes up and holds in place as expected. So the hood opening is actually really smooth. The struts are fluid, no binding or anything like that. Once it reaches almost full extension, you can just let it go as you saw, and then the hood just gets to its final standing point, and it's nice and solid in place. So there's no way this thing is blowing over or flopping over onto my windshield anymore if you're using just the normal prop-up stick. So there we have it, everybody. Grimspeed hood struts for your BRZ, your Toyota 86, or your Scion FRS. Again, these struts fit all generations of the cars. Highly recommended upgrade in my opinion. These things are gonna save your hood if you have the thing open at a car show, at the racetrack, or wherever. Don't ever have to worry about the wind taking that thing out and taking out your windshield. So it's time to check out. I thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any thoughts or comments, as always, leave them down below. I would love to hear from you. Stay fast out there, everybody. We'll talk to you all next time.